Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I'm your host, Marco Mazzola, and I'm joined today again by my very special friend, Mike Bro from The Bro Show. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, hashtag just bro it. Rock on, everybody.
I'm so glad to be talking with you today. We'll be talking about one of my favorite things growing up as a child, Masters of the Universe.
I have the power.
I mean, how big was this show for us growing up? There was a few iconic shows, right? You had your
Right.
G.I. Joe, which we'll get to another podcast. Obviously, Transformers. I know you're a huge Transformers guy. But Master Universe, one of my very special. I mean, it corny show, but man, was that show magic when you were a kid.
Oh, you know what? The great thing about this show was the fact that it broke the mold because it allowed for toys to be sold as a commercial in a cartoon, essentially. It was
Right,
the
that
first
was
time
it,
they actually
right?
allowed that.
I remember
And
that.
it was so great. It was one of those cartoons that, for me, even in 1983, as like a 7-8-year-old, I would take a tape recorder, an audio tape recorder, put it up to the speaker and record full episodes so I could listen to it at night after I go to bed. Like, that's how
Yep.
much I love that show. And yes, it was corny, it was silly, it was very
That's part of the magic.
non-violent. Yeah, very non-violent for a violent
Right.
show with swords and magic and evil
Sure,
and a
nobody
skeleton
dies,
walking
nobody
around.
really gets hurt. Yeah,
Yeah, but it was magic itself.
it
It
really
really
was.
was.
I mean, and you're right. It was the first, because I watched that, The Toys That Made Us. Have you been watching that? I think we talked
Oh,
about
yeah.
that before. And that show gave a lot of history on the show that I didn't know about. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I mean, I
wow.
was, I remember the show. I watched it. I was an avid listener. I had all the toys.
Yep.
But yeah, I did not know so much about it. I really didn't. And that was a big eye opener. You know what I mean? Be a
Oh,
big
yeah.
eye opener for me as
Well,
as an old time fan.
well, the fact that one of the creators too, he got the idea for Skeletor from an actual dead body that he saw at a carnival. Like, that's just crazy in itself. The idea for Skeletor came from that. But not only was it just the ideas and the show itself, the fact that it came from the Filmation
Mhm.
story group and everything, which did
Yep.
previous cartoons included Star Trek, Tarzan,
Some lesser known, lesser,
Flash Gordon, and they
right.
use that repeat animation a lot of times too, but it worked for the show. But the ones that they did that were extra special, like when He-Man gave up the power because he thought he killed someone,
Right.
it was beautiful animation, beautiful storytelling, and it goes back to not only the writing, telling the story, but also the voice acting too.
Yep.
I mean, you had some iconic voices in there. You had John Irwin as He-Man.
Super iconic. Super
Yep.
iconic. So a couple of some quick stats, some quick stat rants, if you want to call them.
Yep.
The show originally aired. I have it here. Original air date was September 26, 1983. That was the original air date for the show. And yes, let's go over a couple of the quick voices here. Like you said, He-Man was, John Irwin, obviously. Alan
Yep.
Oppenheimer was Man-at-Arms, right? Linda Gray was Teela. Lou Scheimer, who
Yep.
was the man over at Filmation. Like
That was him. That was the
that was
guy.
him. It was his show. He played Orko, which I
Yep.
was, and I knew that. I've known that for a long time. I knew that before the
Yep.
Toys That Made Us show. I always thought that was hysterical. He was still the guy. He was the driving force behind it, and he played Orko, the goofiest character on the show, for a while until they brought in
Right.
a few more. But he was that one. So,
And I love the fact that Alan Oppenheimer was also the voice of like Skeletor and a few others, but also the voice of Falkor from Neverending Story.
yes, that's
And if
right.
you watch both of
One
them
my
kind of back to
favorite
back,
movies.
you go, "Oh, I can hear it." And he's done
You
some of the
can.
others, but he's also a big voice actor too. So,
Yep.
oh yeah,
You can definitely hear it. You can definitely hear the nuances in his voice. So one of my we'll get into favorite characters and things like that after in a minute, but and sort of certainly favorite episodes, things like that. But obviously the toys were the show drove the toys. Right? It was all just a big vehicle to have the toys, and they kept flushing out new characters constantly. You know what I mean? Maybe not some of
Yep.
the most sophisticated Stinkor and characters and whatnot, just to have another toy line. What was your favorite toy from the whole series that you had? I know you had them all too, just like I
I
did.
had quite a few. I didn't have some of the later ones. I didn't have like the meteor orbs or anything like that. And I have a friend who's a huge Masters fan. Now, he actually has the entire original collection, and everything. But for me, the original toys, I gotta say, gosh, I don't know. My favorite toy of all of them, aside from He-Man himself,
Yep.
besides He-Man, I gotta say it was Ram Man. Only because
Really?
he had that spring action feature.
Yeah.
And if you had him just right, he would just pop up off the floor or
Yeah,
hold him
he
in your
he
hand and
definitely had some good action going on there.
Yep.
I have to be honest, he was probably one of my least favorite, simply because other than that, he didn't have a lot of
No.
articulation.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
his
his arms
legs, I
just
believe, were stuck together,
That's
weren't they?
it.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was just the arms, and his
Yep.
legs were one unit because it helped to
Yep.
work this where the spring was basically
And his head
located.
didn't have that articulation
And
'cause
yeah, of
that
course,
was
because it was just like a big bolt
Yep.
on top of his head, you know what I mean?
A second favorite
You
of
know, it
mine
was
was
more of like
Trapjaw because
a
he had the attachments and he had the moving jaw.
Yes. Trapjaw was definitely one of my favorites. Just I don't know if it was just looks alone. One was Cyclops.
Yes.
It was a Triclops, actually.
Triclops.
Triclops.
Yep,
He was
with
one
the
of my
head
favorites
Yep,
because
with the eyes.
you could spin the head.
Yep.
He was definitely one of my favorites. I wasn't a huge Man-at-Arms fan. I don't know why. I know some of it affected, like, some of the characters that I played with were affected by the characters on the TV show.
They
Like, if I
didn't look
liked
like the character on the show.
they didn't look like it. If I just wasn't into the character, like, I didn't like the personality playing him, or I didn't like the way
Right.
they portrayed him on the show, it's kinda like, he's kind of a putz. I don't really wanna play with him, so I didn't. Obviously, He-Man you played with all the time. And definitely, like I said, Trapjaw was a great one. I don't think I ever had Stinkor. I don't think I ever got him.
No, and
But
he was made special because they actually put the stink into the plastic
yes,
they made him.
that was one of I don't you correct me if I'm wrong, but that was one of the first times they really started doing that to toys. You
Yep.
had the flocking on certain characters, like the
Moss
real
Man
the
in
hair
that series, yep.
Moss Man, which back in the day wasn't fantastic, but it worked then.
Right.
Like they didn't. It was really for little toys, and how they came about from the toys from the original concepts were amazing. So if you have a chance, go and watch that Toys That Made Us show
Oh,
on
yeah.
Netflix. And
Well,
just
the
some of
fact
the
that Stinkor was also just a repaint of Merman with a
Yep.
different chest piece. It was the exact same figure, just a
Right.
repaint, and it was a
Yeah,
completely
they saved a
different figure.
ton of money doing that. They did it a lot.
Mhm.
They definitely did that a lot, and they did that from one toy line to another sometimes, like
Yeah.
accessories and things like that. Not just within He-Man, but like they'll reproduce it for another whole toy, altogether. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
wasn't Battle Cat a repaint from
The Big Jim line.
the Big Jim line? That's what it was. It was a Big
Yep.
Jim line who was like a traditionally painted tiger, and then they or leopard, and then they repurposed him.
Yep.
For
The
Battle
fact
Cat,
that he
and
was
threw the
completely
threw the
out of
accoutrements on
scale.
top.
Yeah, he was scaled for 12-inch figures or
Right.
9-inch figures, whatever, but then they were like, "Wait, what if we just put He-Man on him
Yeah, it was
and
perfect.
ride?" And that
Yeah, it
was
was
it.
perfect because he was rideable at that point. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so when he was
All
just
they had to do
little
was make the
Cringer,
harness.
he was a normal sized tiger, is little Cringer, although green. But then
Yep.
boom, I have the power, and he grows giant, so we can actually ride him.
And then they
Which that
flock
was
him, make him
fantastic.
purple. "Oh, look, we have Panther for"
That's right. That's right. Take off the
exact
stripes
same
and just make
figure.
him purple. Change the the saddle a little bit,
Yep.
and you're good to go. You're good to go.
There was just so much that was classic about that line, and the fact that they had the built-in line, "I have the power," like they talk about it in
Yes.
that show too, the fact that you're giving the kids the power.
Yes.
And then, of course, you had the offshoot of She-Ra, which was more
Yep.
geared towards girls,
Mhm.
but I'll be honest, as a kid, I got a couple of those She-Ra figures because I wanted
Yeah.
He-Man's sister,
I got
you
one for
know?
my wife recently. She loved She-Ra, so I have an original She-Ra
Oh my
carded.
god.
You know what I mean? Still on card. It wasn't like I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the original, but it
Right.
was it's one of the variations with the funky like the green and kind of
Maybe
like
like the bubble one or something.
yeah, it was something like that. But it was it's one of the original She-Ra packs. It's not a new version. It's one from the original '80s toy
Right.
line that I got for her. She has that, and she has Gem. I got her. She was a huge Gem fan.
Ah,
So I got
God, I
her
love Jem.
one of the original, not the. I don't think it was the first edition. Again, I think it was like the rockin' one with the,
Right.
But again, it was one of the original Gem figures as well. So
I've got a San
yeah,
Diego Comic-Con 2014 exclusive Jem in Paris doll myself just because I love Jem.
yeah,
So,
that's it.
yeah,
Well, she's truly outrageous. How could you not?
yeah,
Am I right?
absolutely.
So
But no, yeah, She-Ra is phenomenal, and, they gave the power to the girls as well, but that was
mhm,
also towards the end of the series. It's kind of when it was starting to go on its swan song, and then we
right.
eventually got the live action He-Man film with Dolph
Yeah, we
Lundgren.
can talk about that because that's going to be a whole subject all of itself. I'm hoping when they redo it, which I think they are,
Yep.
they're gonna just sort of make up for past sins.
You know what? I don't know though. I have a love for that movie, even though I know it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
And
it's a bad
He-Man's
movie,
only
but
in
it's
it like
got a cult following.
25-30% of the film. Like, he doesn't even have that much time on
Yeah,
screen,
yeah,
obvious reasons.
yeah. No, it's just Monica from
Yeah,
Friends
exactly. It's
and
Monica
Captain
from Friends
Paris.
and
It's just,
Tom Paris from
and Tom
Voyager.
Paris from that's a captain. Tom Paris,
Yep.
ensign for a while, and yeah,
Yeah,
lieutenant for most of the show.
oh my god. That
Yeah.
blew my mind when I made that connection years
Me
later. I'm
too.
like, "Wait a second, hold
Me
on.
too. Yeah, because I was a
Star
huge
Trek."
Voyager fan, and then I went back like he is familiar. And I
Yeah,
happened to see I
exactly.
watched for whatever reason I was watching that He-Man movie because it is it's horrible, but it's like a train wreck. It is rewatchable. You
Exactly.
can't look away. Like, oh my god, it's so bad. It's worth watching.
It's worth watching if only for Frank Langella as Skeletor.
Oh, come on. You gotta love me some Frank Langella.
I'm okay with
His
that.
Skeletor. His
His
Skeletor.
Skeletor is great, and you know why he took the role, right?
No, I've watched he was on I saw the other special they did on Just
Yeah.
Master Universe.
His son wanted to see him in, like, a comic book or a hero film or something like that, whatever role, and he said, "That's my favorite movie role of all time
Hmm.
because I did it for my son." And they
Yeah.
had his son on set and everything, so I'm like,
You gotta
"That's
like
really
when they
cool."
do things like that. You have to love when an actor and actress, does that. You know what I mean? Even though
Yep.
it's a crap movie, you
Yeah.
still, you're still buying into it all these years later because you just
And
love it.
he
It still holds a place in
chews
your
the
heart.
scenery up like
He
crazy.
does constantly.
Yep.
Skeletor's character does that anyway. He
Right.
brought it to a whole new level.
Right. No
He brought
offense
it
to
to
Alan Oppenheimer. Alan Oppenheimer
No.
is
You
Skeletor,
see,
but
that Skeletor chooses scenery every time too. He really
yep.
does. But I think Langella brought it to a whole new level, and the makeup was incredible for its time.
Yeah,
And the fact that
exactly.
he wanted them to see his mouth move,
Yep.
like, that was big for him, you know what I mean? It was really hard for him, like, some of all the prosthetics and things like that, very hard to emote through all that prosthetics and things like that. I think he
Right.
did an amazing job.
And
Um,
then, you
yeah, as a
have
kid, you're kinda like, "Oh, that's weird," like, Skeletor doesn't have lips. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, he's just a skeleton with a jaw, the bottom jaw just moves.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
But
that's it, but,
you can appreciate it as an adult, you see what they were able to do with what they had at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly
And
right.
and then you had,
The lack of CGI, the lack of you know what I mean?
exactly. Well, you
Yeah.
had, the reptile guy or whatever. That was great makeup for a character you saw on screen for, like, 5 minutes until he got evaporated, but
I mean, the thing that kills me the most about that movie is you have a laundry list of
mhm.
characters, and with the exception of Beastman, who doesn't really look like Beastman, like,
Beastman,
none
Evil
of them
Lyn
are from the actual show.
right. You don't have Orko, you get Gwildor because they couldn't
Yeah,
make somebody float.
right, they couldn't make somebody float. I mean, the star of no, so Ghostbusters did it, but,
Right.
maybe they didn't have the Ghostbusters budget apparently,
Well,
to
yeah,
make somebody because he's in it the entire movie, and he's, like, one of the main characters.
it was made
So
by
you
the
didn't have
same movie
Slimer the
right,
entire movie, you know what I mean? Like, it would've been way too not cost effective if Slimer was in
right.
the entire movie, but Gwildor's, the main catalyst behind the whole movie, so you have to boost something with it,
Well,
you
let's put it
know?
this way, I mean, it was made by the same movie company that gave us American Ninja 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right, so, the height of
Yeah.
budgets and cinematography and, I mean, how the Oscars were not just rained upon them, I don't really know, but
No, and they
you
ran out of
have
money during filming.
Yep, they did because, of all that awesome special effects and costuming and getting the licensing for all those characters. Why not? But, like,
Yeah.
you don't even throw in a Triclops. You don't throw in a I mean, you could do that. You can't do
Yeah.
that. You can't even throw in a Stinkor. You
Nope,
know what I mean? Put
not
somebody
even
in a
that.
skunk costume and you know what I mean? Like, there's so many characters. Even the Man-at-Arms guy looked weird. You know what I
He didn't
mean?
look right. His armor could have looked better.
Yeah.
I think
You
his
had
character,
that.
like,
You
he
had
played it
that. Costuming
fine.
was costuming. You had the
Yeah.
ability to make it more look, you know what I mean?
Like, I
Tila,
like the
same thing. Now, I
dynamic of
get Tila doesn't have to be half naked throughout the whole show, like,
right.
that just even back then isn't gonna play very well.
They could have had
Um
something better on her even.
Yeah.
Not to say anything about the characters were fine for what they were. They were able to emote and actually give, uh what's the word I'm looking for? Audible dialogue
Yeah.
to He-Man's "I will break" no,
Oh,
no, no.
yeah, Dolph Lundgren's and indistinguishable with the little accent you got going on there. You can't
Right.
understand him. It's
At
very
that point,
muddled.
no. If you watch him in Expendables now, oh, yeah, beautiful, you can hear him, he's a lot more,
Sure. Was it 40 years later?
understandable.
Something like that.
Yeah.
40 years later, he's had more time to work on his accent and acting
Well,
speech coaches and things like that, but
A little
He's
offshoot, we're getting that extended cut of Rocky 4 in the next few weeks here, and he's gonna
Oh,
have
really?
more speaking time in that other than his, like,
Oh
3
boy.
lines in the original cut,
Oh
so
boy. 3
that
was
should be
enough.
interesting.
3 was enough. I think 3 was just about right.
Um, no, I just have a special love for this film. I watch it probably every couple months just because I'll put it on in the
Months,
background.
really?
Yeah,
I would say maybe once a year, once every other year, I'll watch it. Every couple of months, that's special.
yeah,
I
I don't know
like
what it
that.
is about that film, I just love it. It's just so cheesy bad. I think it's partly because it's also Monica and Tom Paris. It's just
Yeah.
they're just there.
So you should have been on our guilty pleasure movie
Oh.
podcast when we did that one. You would have talked all about Master Universe.
Oh, I got a few
Right?
of those, don't you
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. Well, we
But
definitely talk
yeah,
about those someday.
and after the movie, then you go into, The New Adventures of He-Man, completely different animated look, but technically a sequel to the
Yes.
original cartoon somewhat.
Yeah.
I never watched it as much. The toys didn't fit with the original toy line.
Right.
It just didn't feel
It was a little too
right.
far off. It was too far
Right,
off the mark from what you knew.
right,
But at
exactly.
that point, how far into was it? How many years? So was it over a decade by the time that from the original
That
He-Man? Like
was,
when
like,
did that one?
1990 or so,
So
so,
almost a
um
decade. Almost a
right,
decade in. So, it's almost like every decade, it's a new fandom, it's a new group, it's a new set of kids. At
exactly.
that point, in reality terms, not necessarily you and I, but most
Right,
normal people are done, playing with their toys after that long.
right.
You know what I mean? When do you start with He-Man when you're what, 4, 5, you know what I mean? So 10 years in, you're now talking you're 14, 15. You're not playing with He-Man toys anymore.
You're trying to play with girls or boys or
Yeah, that's
whatever.
right, whatever
Yeah,
it is, you know what I mean? But, you and I were still with the He-Man and the G.I. Joes, and okay, that's
right.
fine, and 45 and still doing it. Still got my pop figure collection, which I think is up to 155 at this point.
Woo.
Yeah, this hopefully not let my wife listen to this episode. So, you know most kids are done with it playing with their toys, so they need a new base. They need a new kid base to play with. So,
Yep,
you got to change it up. You can't play the old shows anymore. You know what I mean? I know with my son, I'll let him watch. Like, hey, here's the GI Joe show I used to watch as a kid. He's like, yeah, that's great. Can you change it now, please, and put on
right.
something now because this is ridiculous. But to me, and I'll shed a tear. I will. I'll shed a tear
Right,
and be like, oh, this was my childhood. It is not your
exactly.
childhood. I
It's
get
not the
that.
same,
It's
and
not
that's
the
why they
same.
changed it up, and it just didn't do as well, and then it took them another decade to even have another new cartoon,
Yeah.
referred to as 2000X He-Man.
Yeah.
39 episodes, cut a little short, but it was a great series.
Yeah. And it
Yep.
is for what it is. We'll talk about that too, because obviously there's new ones now. There's 2 currently
Yeah.
going on right now. There's Kevin Smith's Revelation, which
Whoo!
I loved the first half. We're getting the second half in
Yep.
November, right? Is it the 22nd? I posted, I
November
can't
22nd
remember.
or 23rd, but yeah,
Somewhere
it's
around
gonna be
there,
right
right? Or
before
towards the end of
Thanksgiving.
yeah, right before Thanksgiving. And they're gonna drop the entire
Yep,
second half, right? It's not a week to week thing, thankfully. Um,
yep.
and then there's the other version, the other kid, which is definitely aimed towards kids,
Yeah,
like
it's
little
CGI
kids.
animated, and everybody has a power, not just He-Man, they all have their
Right.
own magical ability or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm
And
perfectly
I
fine
actually I'll
on
be
board with
admitted I
that.
watched a couple episodes and I actually enjoyed it. I didn't
Yeah,
think I would because it's not my He-Man, but
right.
as a show, if you stand alone, it's a pretty good show. It's a fun show and it'll get better. You know what I mean? Like I'll end up watching the entire first season at least and give it because I like to give things a chance.
Right.
I'm not usually just a one and done. All right, I watched this. This is crap. I'll give it a chance. I watched all 3 Christopher Nolan films, so I gave them a chance. They sucked, but I'll give this one a chance too. And then if I don't like it after that, it'll peter off and I won't do it. But yeah, you got
Did
to
you
give it a
see
shot.
I know that I've seen, character, images for a character called Ram Mam, where they gender
Yes.
swapped Ram Man,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have you
yeah.
seen him, or her on the show yet or no?
No, because I'm only in the first 2 episodes. I've only
Okay.
watched the first 2, so
I'm
not
interested
quite
to s
yet.
like, if I'm gonna watch it, it's gonna be watching for, like, that kind of change and see how well
Yeah.
it does,
Yeah.
just in the context of its own show.
I hope it does well because it's content.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
new content, and it will be somebody's He-Man. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There will be kids who, love this version of He-Man, and God bless them. I think that works well. I think that's amazing.
Well, then
It's
you
not my
have
version. I'm happy Revelation exists.
exactly, and then you
Even
have
though
some
there's so
people who
many people
aren't
who are
happy that Revelation
no, and they're
exists.
freaking out. I've been reading it. You read online,
I
especially when it first came out. People
Yeah,
losing their little minds, their little internet, standing on top of their chairs,
please.
cap typing into their keyboard, screaming at the computer that
It
Kevin
is
Smith has ruined their childhood. We talked about this before.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say, but that's bullshit. Nobody's ruined anything of yours. Go back and watch the original, whatever it is, 300 episodes of the
exactly.
original version, and, and,
They
and be
took a
fine with it.
they took a chance, spoiler alert, they took out He-Man in the very first episode, like, literally took out He-Man, and they
130
made
episodes.
Teela the
Sorry.
focus of the show. Like,
Yeah, and that's okay. The
that's
first half, though.
Yeah,
For the
exactly.
first half. The second half is not. The second half
Yeah.
is more about because they bring him back and then kill him off. Spoiler alert. But
Well, I don't know if they do or not because
they
there's some
don't.
toys that are coming out.
They dead. He's coming back. It looks like he's coming back
Right.
as like Savage He-Man or something like that. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
There's
but
that 2-pack coming out
Skeletor
with
now
him
has the
and
power,
Orko.
right? Skeletor has he's Ultimate Skeletor,
Yeah.
basically. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
So
that's what the second half is all going to be about, and that's fine. I don't have a struggle with that. It's a story. It's a story arc. The
right.
original 130 episodes, every episode was its own condensed story. This is a
Exactly.
story arc, so that's I think bugging some people, right? Like it's a whole, but that's the way TV is done these days, especially even for adults. Anything is done that way. Look at all the Arrowverse shows. Yeah, every
Right.
episode has maybe a villain of the week, but it's an overarching story for the whole season. It's just
Exactly.
the way it's done now. I mean, the old Flash with John Wesley Ships was a one and done. Every episode was a one and done. I'm
Right.
rewatching Lois and Clark, which let me tell you is a tough sit.
Oh,
Holy
really?
crap! Oh, it's a tough ass sit right now. I love me some Lois and Clark. You know what I mean? I like Dean Cain. I don't necessarily like his politics now. I think he's kind of a putz. We'll talk about that in a
Yeah.
second. But I love Terry Hatcher. But it's a
Yep.
tough sit. It's a tough sit. You know what I mean? There's a
It's
lot of time
almost
on that show.
cheesy even for its
It's
own
cheesy, and
standards.
I don't have a problem with cheesy, but when they're trying to get married and it takes like a season and a half and
Mhm.
some bullshit happens every episode to stop them from getting married, it's like, "Oh my god, let's move on here." And I
Right.
think what bothered me the most on that one, I know we're veering off the topic here, but we have every episode, pretty much for the most part,
Right.
90% of them, something happens to Lois or Clark. You know what I mean? It's not
Yep.
like he's gonna go solve something else because if you don't have it about Lois and Clark, what does she do?
Right.
What's her point in the story other than she's a reporter? She reports on it after the fact. It's just Superman doing stuff,
Exactly.
being Superman, saving the world. So you have to involve her all the time. So it's always Lois in peril.
And see, that's where your cheese factor can work against you. However, going back to He-Man, if you watch those original cartoons, those original episodes, I'd say like half of them are like that. They're about the main characters, but then the other half are about other characters or other
Yeah.
groups of people that he's saving or working with or doing something for, and that
Right.
made it better.
Yes.
You know, that made it a much better storytelling element to itself. And
Yeah,
then they
because
had
it's
the
really
one-offs that
hard to see a show week after week and you see the same main characters are always getting into shit. Like, really?
right,
In a year time, you dumped into that much crap in your life? Like, what are you doing? Just wrap
exactly.
yourself up in a bubble and go somewhere because there's way too much crap that's happening to you on a weekly basis. Like nothing else happens to anybody else in this city,
Yep.
just you. So
Now I will say with Revelation, the only thing I didn't like in the fact that they took He-Man out in the first episode was you didn't get the every episode of He-Man going, "I have the power by the power of Grayskull, I have the
yeah,
power."
they definitely
You took that away.
leaned into not having to do that every episode.
I know, that was the only although you got the flashbacks of him as He-Man and
Yep.
whatever thing or whatnot with Teela,
Yeah.
but not him
I mean, he was
doing
pretty much
that.
in every episode, just it wasn't the
Right.
current. There's a lot of flashbacks and
Exactly.
things like that. So, you don't necessarily missing him. But I agree. But I did like the fact that it wasn't just He-Man, 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 He-Man. We got some different look into other characters because in a
Y
sense he was out of the way for the first half of the series. You know what I mean? The first half of the
exactly.
season. He was
You
not
got to
the
see
didn't
Teela
have to be
really
the main
grow.
focus. Yep.
Yeah, you got Teela to really grow,
Yeah.
you got
And
Teela
we
in
had some
her
Teal episodes in the original series, 130
right,
episodes. They hit on some Teal episodes, but this was a nice story arc for her to really see
right.
what she can do and grow and change. And I liked her new haircut. I thought it was pretty funky.
Yep.
I thought that was great. I thought it was great. And I don't care if they make her, different, a different origin of the person. You know what I mean? Like I don't care.
I
I think
think
it's
they're
just
leaning
wonderful. It's
into the
wonderful growth.
origins I think they're leaning into the origins from the original series where she was the, Sorceress's daughter who
Yep.
she put up to adoption to give to Man-at-Arms. I think we're gonna see her come fruition and actually become the sorceress
Yep.
or, like, the sorceress apprentice of some kind at the end of this series of Revelation,
I hope
and
so. It'd be
and
nice to bring it
He-Man will
around
have
like
to
that.
answer to her,
Yeah.
and she'll be the one not necessarily pulling the strings or anything, but she's gonna be the
Well,
one
she's guiding him and helping him. That's what the
exactly.
sorceress does. She doesn't necessarily manipulate him. She
No,
guides him. She's his spiritual guide as well. You know what I mean? Things like that.
exactly.
And I think that would be fantastic if it was Tila doing that. They've had
What
such
did
a
you think
close
of
relationship.
what do you think of the revelation, quote unquote, that Castle Grayskull was just a facade to their castle of power
I
or
thought that
whatever
was well done. I thought that
Yeah.
was great. I'm sure there are plenty of people losing their flipping minds over it.
Yep.
I liked it. I thought it was a great way to spin on it. Something we never saw in the original series.
Yep.
You've got to update it. It's 2021. You got to change it up a little bit. Grayskull's still there. We didn't get rid of Grayskull.
Nope.
We didn't make it non-existing. It's just a facade for something bigger and greater. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Almost like we're gonna make this a little shabby chic, so you don't
Yep.
really know what's underneath. You know what I mean? We're gonna shabby this up a little bit, so you don't kind of look too far behind the curtain.
Right.
You know?
And I gotta say again, I love Alan Oppenheimer. He is my Skeletor, but Mark Hamill
If
really
you're gonna
owned.
have a successor, if you
Yeah,
have to have a
exactly.
successor, obviously rest in peace, Alan Oppenheimer.
Oh no, he's still alive.
Is he still alive? I thought he was dead. Who am I
No.
thinking about then? Who am I
No,
thinking
he was
about then?
supposed to be at RetroCon this past year, but he had to cancel because he was a little sick. That's it, nothing crazy or anything. But he'll be
Who
back
was it?
next year. Whoa, you didn't hear that from me, but we're supposed to have him back next year.
No,
maybe.
it's Megatron. The guy who played Megatron's gone,
Frank
right? Or
Welker? No.
no. Who is it? Somebody. One of the big guys is gone. Is it the guy? Did Frank Welker do Cobra Commander 2?
No, that
Was the
was
guy?
Scott Chris Latta. He passed away
That's the
many
one I'm
years
thinking
ago.
about. That's the
Yeah.
one I'm thinking about. Thank you. Good Lord,
Yeah.
the brain is fried. You're older than me. What the hell, man?
I don't know, man. What's
You're
going
not
on?
that much older than me, but Jesus, my brain is shot. It's working
Oh
with
my
these kids
God.
every week. The brain is shot. Good Lord. Yeah, it's Cobra Commander that's gone. That's who it
Right.
was.
He passed away many years ago. He was a
Sorry,
comedian.
Alan Oppenheimer. I feel like I did that to you already.
Yeah, no, he's still alive. He's still
I've
kicking.
already killed him twice on this podcast.
Oh
All
my
right.
God, no, he's
God
still
bless
alive.
him.
He
Oh,
yeah.
good.
We want him from RetroCon. I got to meet him when he was at RetroCon way back when.
So then I
he's
guess
cool.
that begs the question though. Why didn't he do it then?
Why didn't he do
older now? He
RetroCon?
just want to do it anymore? No, the show.
Oh no, they didn't want him for it. They wanted like a bigger name to be known for Skeletor, but he is the voice of Mossman in
Right.
Revelation.
Okay. All right.
So
But it's so he's in there.
Mhm.
Do you think the fan base this would have been a better get for them if Alan Oppenheimer did, even though we love Mark Hamill, I mean he's amazing, the Joker and all the other characters he's done, mostly the Joker. That's the one for voice acting he's most known
Right.
for doing the Joker. But if you had the original Skeletor, do you think you could have shut up a few of the stupid old fans?
I
The
don't
whiny babies in their
know.
mother's basements that we had the original Skeletor in this.
You know what? I don't know that it would have made a difference necessarily,
One
only
would
because
hope.
of the source material or anything.
Yeah.
However,
Because He-Man's still around, right? The guy who played
yeah,
John Irwin.
but he's retired from acting for the most part. Like he won't do
Get off
anything.
your
Like,
ass.
yeah, I understand why.
Please,
but
he was born in 1936. Let's give the guy a
Yeah.
break. You know what I mean? He's closing
Exactly.
in on the 90. Like he's closing in. You know what I
same
mean?
thing with Alan.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, and I think it's something that a
He's
lot
older.
of
He was born in 1930, so he's already
know.
past the 90. He's 91.
Yep,
My
and
math is
he's
correct. And
spry.
people, my math is suck. So just correct me if I'm wrong.
He moves like a mofo.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's at
Spry
RetroCon
little
3 or 4 years
91, huh?
ago. Yeah, and I had to drive him around and everything, and he can move. Like he can move. He doesn't need like a walker or anything. He doesn't need a cane. He just gone.
Wow, he's a trucker, huh?
Yep, and I mean,
The
you
original
talked about
Tila passed away, Linda Gray.
Yep.
She passed in 95. Wow, she was only 50.
Yeah.
I have this weird. I'll put it out there. Lou Scheimer passed in 2013. He was 84. I have this weird I'm old school Italian, so like my grandmother used to play Guess Who Died. That game. So like for some reason like that kind of stuck with me. That's like the thing. Like Guess Who Died? Oh boy, I guess we're doing this. Huh? No.
Oh,
So
no.
like I have that weird fascination with it. Like who when it comes to movie stars and things
Yep.
like who's
Who's
dead,
still
who's
here, who's
alive.
not.
Yeah. I mean we finally lost Lou. You know what I mean? From
No, I remember that one. That was a hard one.
Abe Vigoda's gone, right? We got rid of Abe, right?
Yeah, he's not here anymore.
That was the big thing for a long time was the Abe Vigoda died dead or alive. He was on there for the longest time.
Yeah, I
He was
know.
high up
Oh
on
my
that
God.
list.
Yeah, no, for me, the way I think about it with fans and everything, trying to do fan service, they did fan service bringing in Alan for Mossman. But the way I look at it is you don't always want to do something to just make the fans happy. If you do that, you're not going to create something exciting and new that will bring in new fans.
That
and by
does
having Mark
happen.
Hamill,
I've seen that. People can definitely get a little bitchy when there's like it's too much fan service. I don't know how that phrase exists, but it does. It's too much fan service. Like these
Now, you
shows are
can
not
do it-
winning Academy Awards here.
Right.
It's He-Man, for the love of God. I would love a little fan service, actually. Because I'm a fan and I've been a fan since the 80s. You know what I mean? And you're bringing back the original show, essentially, right? This isn't like the other animated version, which is a whole new take. This is literally meant to be a continuation of the Filmation show.
Exactly.
Picking up where
In
we left off,
spirit,
like
they're a
like
little
little
bit different
fan
look, but
service.
that's okay.
Oh, sure. You gotta
Yeah.
update it for 2021. You can't do the old filmation. I mean, they could. They could
Right.
easily recreate the filmation
Oh,
look
yeah.
and feel. I think that would be hysterical if they did that as almost like a alternate reality one-off. All right, yeah, they do that shit all the time. Like it's a
Oh, yeah.
multiverse, and now we got look, it's this universe. It's still the old filmation. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And people like
Well,
closely getting to the voices.
I will say that my favorite character from the first half of the show, this new series, is Orko. And
Yeah,
I
they upscaled
loved
Orko big time.
yeah, they upscaled him. I love the fact he was older. He was a little more in control of his magic, but he still
Yeah,
was a little bumbling, but not too
still a bit
much.
of a putz, but yeah, he
Yep,
had it. He had a
but
lot more together.
the fact he took on, Scareglow and kicked ass. It
Yep.
cost him his again, spoiler alert, it cost him his life
But
supposedly.
let's face it, he's not dead.
He's gonna be back in some form or
Of course he's
fashion.
gonna be back. What
Yeah.
are they doing? They're selling toys. You don't kill off one of
Yep.
your main characters. You have toys to sell. Nobody's be like, I don't want a Rocco figure. He died. Like, of course he's gonna be back. People are
Yeah.
so that's where I really get to it when people start losing their mind. They killed off Orko. Oh please, because they want to kill off somebody they're gonna sell a billion toys on. Are you out of your
Yeah.
mind?
They
Think it
killed
through.
off
Yes,
He-Man,
and
and then he
Superman was
shows up.
gonna stay dead too. Sure,
Yeah, they
sure.
killed off He-Man, and here he is. He's in Preternia, which is basically Eternia heaven. Like, come on.
Yes, right.
And
Of course he's coming back. They got toys to sell. Use your head.
there's some people that are complaining about King Grayskull on there because oh gosh, he's black. I'm like, really? What the
Again.
hell? You
Again.
know
And
what?
let's just get right into it because fuck it, I don't care. Let's get right
Yeah,
into it. You know the new Superman's son is going to be bisexual.
doesn't
And
you know
people are
what,
losing their flipping mind, mostly Republicans.
dude?
They're
Love who
losing
you
their
love.
flipping minds.
Yeah,
Who cares?
yeah,
Who cares? First of all, you're
exactly,
not changing the original Superman, Clark Kent,
exactly.
Jor-El.
Kal-El is still
Okay.
Kal-El. Yeah,
Kal-El is still Kal-El. So who cares? Like, and
exactly.
even if you did, so what? But the point is, and I get it. I get when people like try to change the original character, right? If you make
Right,
Bruce Wayne in Earth 1, like our Earth, the main one, all of a sudden he's African American. Like, I get it. I get
right.
it. Make a new one. He's an Earth 2. I love Earth 2 Superman.
Yeah,
Right? I think he's great. I think he's a great character. It's a great way to do that. You didn't change Kal-El. He's not, but you have him on Earth 2. He is
yep,
fantastic. You can still play that and run that storyline, right? Just like the Miles Morales. He's not
exactly,
Peter Parker. He's not African American Peter Parker.
exactly.
He is a new Spider. I think that's the best way to do it.
And
So now you got Superman's son, who's
yep,
so so what? That's going to create great story. People are losing their collective idiot minds.
exactly. I don't get it. And the same thing with this King Grayskull. The fact that we're gonna have quote a black He-Man
Uh-huh.
in the same. I'm like, you know what? He's from the earlier versions of He-Man. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. He's not gonna touch Prince Adam as a
right.
character,
It's
and
not Prince Adam.
they can actually interact and have two He-Man. They can have a battle of He-Man characters.
Right.
They
Right,
had a
because
woman
Princess
He-Man.
Adam wasn't the only He-Man.
Exactly.
There's
He-Man
been
is a
multiple,
title.
like Neo in the Matrix, right? Like there's
E
been multiple iterations of him. This happens just
exactly.
like Doctor Who.
Oh my
Finally,
god,
we got
yes.
away from the crusty old white guy,
Yep.
right? We still
Eh,
went to a white woman, but okay, I can take it. At least we went gender swapping on that one.
well,
Hopefully, the
now in
next
the
one,
show at some point, they introduced a version of the same Doctor as a black woman somewhere in there,
yes,
you know?
yes.
But
Now she was
again
like, I don't know, she's like pretty much like a one-off, but like I don't know if they'll pick up on
yeah,
the series with Davies coming back in, but we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
exactly.
But
They're
at
taking
least
chances, and it
they're
still
taking
works.
chances and telling different stories, but you can't tell the same. How long can you tell the same story of this crusty white dude?
Exa
Always, you know what I mean?
you
You say,
know what?
okay, yeah, but we're trying to play to different people now.
The one thing you
You-
can keep in constant in He-Man is, "I have the power." He just
Mhm.
has to raise his sword and say, "By the
That's
power
the
of Grayskull,
constant.
I have the power." And it can
That's
be
right.
him, it can be he, him, it can be they, it can be
It could be
her, it
Tila,
doesn't
it could
matter.
be Orko, it could be freaking
Exactly,
Cringer. I don't care. I
exactly,
don't care. The essence of what the message is still the same. The
exactly.
message is still the same. Let the
You know what, that
message be the
reminds me
same.
too, that I missed the, the lessons at the end of every episode. Where was the lesson? I wanted the
Yeah,
lessons.
that I know. It's like if you do the GI Joe show and you don't do the, you know what I mean, knowing it's half the battle at the end.
Exactly.
No, I get you. I did like that. You know what I
Where's
mean?
the lesson?
And then
Come
he
on.
runs off in that famous filmation run, which I
Yep.
love. That kind of half side. He does the quick dip and go. I love that. The quick dip to go is the best.
My
in the
personal
run.
favorite, there's
That
a bunch of memes of
recycled
them.
run every time.
There's a lot of memes out there right now online, and one I just recently shared on my Instagram was Skeletor saying, "You know, a pregnant woman is basically just a human submarine when she's swimming."
Yep. I
Back
saw
to
that.
giving more
I
disturbing
saw
facts
that.
later.
I think I like that on your post. That was awesome. I love those. The Skeletor memes are some of my favorite. They're absolutely some of my favorite memes. I
That
do
is the
like those.
best. Yeah,
So you know how they have those like how old were you when you found out type memes? One of my favorite, and wasn't a meme, but how old was I when I found out that Paul Dini was one of the Raiders. Wrote 11 episodes
oh yeah,
from Paul Dini, famous for obviously for Batman the animated series. That's where I first knew of Paul Dini because obviously his name was every
yep,
time is right there, it's front and center. And I've listened to Kevin Smith's when it was Fat Man on Batman. Now it's Batman, Fat Man
yep,
Beyond. But the original Fat Man on Batman, the original incarnation was just him. Was Kevin Smith talking to somebody one-on-one interviews with somebody within the Batman universe, somebody who had touched the Batman universe at some point, who wrote a character, or played a character, or whatever you
right.
know. So he did like a whole series with Paul Dini. He did a whole bunch of episodes, and then he did like a rewatch. They would watch the movies, or he'd watch like the Michael Keaton. They watched some of the movies and stuff like that.
Yep.
Which I thought was hysterical. Yeah, they did these whole
You
like
know
almost
what?
like
You know
little
who another one
commentary
is?
tracks.
Is J. Michael Straczynski.
Yep.
He wrote several episodes. It's also where he came up with the food that he uses in every series he writes. I want to say it's called Shmoo or something like that. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, we
But
talked
if
about
you,
the things I think before, right? When you were on
yeah,
last time. Yeah. Go over that
yep,
because we didn't really go into it too deep because it wasn't what we were talking about. But
yep. J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote Babylon 5, who did a lot of different comic books, who wrote for Marvel, like all sorts of things. He cut his teeth a little bit on He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Like
yeah,
that's just crazy to
I mean
me.
it was 130 episodes. They had a lot of people working on it because they were cranking it out. Like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
cranked. Those are the days where they cranked out like I was like 100 episodes a season. Like it was insane.
And the
You know,
animation was done in-house. It was done in
all in house
stateside.
and a lot of reuses. A lot of what I mean. A
Yeah.
lot of like let's just use that again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just flip it
So
or
two
turn it this
seasons.
way.
So if you have 2 seasons, you have 130 episodes.
It was like 65, 70 episodes
75
per
and
season.
about 65 an episode, 65 per season. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a lot. That's a lot for each season to crank out 65 episodes. Now they're only 22 to 30 minutes long. The
Right.
IMDb says 30 minutes. I don't think they're 30 minutes because
No,
the
they were
show
like
ran.
20,
They had to
maybe
be. The
24,
show was 30
25.
minutes. Yeah, the
Well, the
show
show
was
is
30
essentially a
minutes
commercial.
aired. That's commercial. So you normally
Right.
knock down to. I think IMDb is just full of shit. So on this one, they don't really care. It's like that's an 80 show, 83 show. Who cares? Just put 30
Right.
minutes and let's move
Oh
on.
my god.
But I mean, what a show! What an amazing show. Skeletor's face was yellow, which I thought was
Yes.
hysterical. Like in the show, right? I guess so that off white didn't really play well.
Right. And they wanted
You know
something
what I
that
mean?
popped out of the black and really
Yeah.
showed.
So it's like a weird
But you didn't get
yellowish
his like
tone.
background, his real origin until the 2000X series. The fact
Right.
that he was possibly King Randor's brother,
Yep.
that he was technically He-Man's uncle, essentially,
Yep.
as Keldor.
Yep.
So, and there's actually in the new toy lines that are out now, you have the Revelation toy line, but you also have the retro toy line that's out right now, which are essentially the
Yes.
original He-Man toys
I
with
saw
more
that.
articulation,
Yep.
which look phenomenal, and they're doing some
It's
new characters
really
and
well
whatnot
done.
too.
I'll have to take a picture. There's a local comic shop near me called Comically Speaking. I think I've talked about them before. A
Yep.
little plug for those guys. Love those guys, Pat and all the guys over there. I get a lot of my pop figures and stuff from them. They have all of them. Like they have
Yeah.
so they have an upstairs with all the comics, and then downstairs is all the toys. And I go through that shop, and it is my childhood. It's a
Yeah.
lot of the new stuff. A lot of and they have aisles, like one aisle's Star Wars, one aisle's DC, one aisle's Marvel, and then one
Yep.
aisle's like kind of like off stuff, some and then one aisle's like freaking He-Man as far as the eye can see. It
Yep.
is crazy, and I just love it. And then in the back, all across the back is there's display cases, and one section's all Star Wars, one's all old G.I. Joe stuff, one's all old He-Man stuff,
Yep.
mostly off a card, things like that. But it's like I sit there and dream like, oh my god, I owned all of this. Like I
What's really
owned all of this when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
I'm the same way, and they've even come out with Castle Grayskull updated with a sorceress figure inside it. They came out with like the land shark vehicle. They've come out with they're coming out with Stridor, the robotic horse that they rode. They're coming out with Mosquitor. They're coming out with Buzz Off. But my personal favorite was this Target exclusive 2-pack that had Keldor and the pre-version of Trapjaw. I forget what his name was, but it's like Keldor, so it's Skeletor with a regular face, blue and everything, but no skeleton. Comes with an extra head to pop on to be Skeletor, and it comes with Trapjaw, but with his arm intact and like weapons that he carries.
Right.
Like but it's done in that old style. I
So
thought that's just a cool
I'm
set.
on Wikipedia, and
Yep.
there's a list of He-Man Master Universe characters. Holy crap! Like the
Mhm.
vintage storyline from from Buzz Off and Clamp Champ and Extendar and Fisto, which
Yep.
sounds more dirty than it needs to be.
Mecha-Neck, Manny-Faces,
Gwildor's actually on there.
yeah. Well, they
They had a
made him in the
Gwildor.
original toy line, so
Yeah.
they did movie figures for the
And
original toy line, but
Manny
they never did a
Faces.
He-Man.
I like when they talk about Manny Faces on Family Guy. He's like, man, he has many faces. I
There
love that. It's one of my favorites.
There's actually a person who was at New York Comic Con who did that costume. I wasn't there the day he did it, but I saw his pictures, and he did a costume where his face was coming through the portal, but then he
Yeah.
turned the knob at the top one way, and it had the monster face. He turned it the other way, and it would have the robot face, and he could
Wow.
see through them. I'm like, that's actually really cool. That's a really cool costume.
So they had a
So,
King Grayskull. They
yes.
had one from the characters, the toy lines from 2008 to 2015.
Yep.
They did Queen Grayskull as well. And they
The,
had
uh,
a
the
Lion Hero and Eldor. They did a lot. I mean, good lord.
Yeah, the classics line that came out that was subscription only, that was a really great toy line.
Yeah.
I got a handful of those myself. Not all of them, there's a huge
So
number of
that's the
those.
fun for me because I talk about going to the comic shop. I'm like, I look at the wall. I'm like, I owned all of these. Then I look at you and go, he still owns all of these. He still
I
has
either
all
own
those.
them or I've gotten them or I'm in the process of selling them. One of the
Right.
3.
But
So,
somehow they're in your possession somewhere.
yeah, exactly. I just have a few toys. I was
Yeah,
just
just a
telling a friend
couple.
recently, that in my storage unit and my guesstimate of toy number that I have now
I
is
was
anywhere
gonna
from
ask, but I'm like, is that rude? Is that because
No,
you
no,
know
I'll
what I mean?
tell you.
How could you possibly know?
30,000 to 35,000 actual individual figures or pieces. Now
Whoa.
that could be like a bunch of army builders or like 2 packs, and then
Right,
I'm
because
counting
yeah,
each
I've
figure
seen your shelf
individually.
pictures, and you have like a million, like
Yeah.
Ponda Babas, and you have a million stormtroopers, or and you have a ton of GI Joe, Cobra troopers, and
You know what? I'll give a little plug to another show I've been on before too called Peg Warmers. The first episode I was in, we actually talk about my
again, sounds
Ponda
dirtier
Baba.
than you mean it to be, but that's an interesting
Yeah,
name for a show.
it's a great you know what? It's a great show. My friend Kevin, he's the host of it. I go on it from time to time. We talked about my Ponda Babas. We talked about,
I'd love to
um
get on that show with you guys.
oh god, oh,
That'd be fun.
I
That would be
they
fun.
they they film it in studio for now, but if they start doing it remotely, oh, absolutely. If you're ever down here, we'll get you
Sure,
in there somehow, I'm sure. It's a
that'd be fun.
fun show. It is definitely interesting. But yeah, the just the breadth of everything that I have is a little crazy, including He-Man, including Transformers and G.I. Joe are probably the biggest ones. Star Wars is a close third, and He-Man's probably, like,
Yeah,
right around
I'm
fourth.
looking at the screen behind you, and you got the the
The
the
Yeah,
platform
exactly.
from GI Joe for the
Oh,
the
yeah,
oil rig,
Battle Axe.
basically.
Yeah, and then you have the Starscream,
Yeah.
uh, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Starscream Transformer jet, that's actually a Sky Striker that came with a Cobra Commander
Oh,
that
I
actually
love
has
me
co
some Sky Striker.
he has a Megatron transformed. Like, they don't transform at all, but yeah,
I
and
love me some Sky Striker. That was one of
it
my
was
favorite toys playing when I was a kid, GI Joe Sky Striker, because it was good size. You could really it wasn't just like a little
Yep,
plane you hold in your hand. It was a good size plane with the
yep,
wings popped out. You know what I mean? And really good at the articulation on it, the wheels that shot down. Like that was a great toy.
it
I
really
love
was.
that.
They used it in, multiple versions over the last few years when they remade the Sky Striker. It's an updated version, but like that one there, you have they did one for Sky Patrol with their G.I. Joe Collector's exclusive. They did one for Night Force, which was all
Mhm.
black and with glow in the dark labels and such. They did a couple different San Diego Comic exclusives that were painted as Cobra jets, like just really cool. But then you go back again, He-Man, all the repaints they did on that one too, like
Yeah.
everything they did. Unless it was a vehicle, they never repainted vehicles. It was really just the figures they did.
GI Joe did.
Yeah, G.I. Joe repainted vehicles like crazy, not
Yeah, yeah,
He-Man.
yeah. No, not He-Man, but GI Joe definitely did. But
Yeah,
GI Joe
no.
was like, some of it, like the Jeeps and stuff like that, were kind of, just plunked from one to the other. They're very interchangeable. You
Yep,
can easily
exactly.
repaint. The He-Man stuff was a little bit more, fantasy, obviously. So, something was very specialized. So a
Right.
little bit more noticeable when you have the same machine because it's so artistically specialized looking that if you just repaint it, like, it's the same shit. You
Well,
know?
like the G.I. Joe Vamp, their Jeep being repurposed as the Cobra Stinger with the 4 missiles on the back.
Right. And how many times did the Hiss get repainted? You know what I mean?
Oh, they have one out on shelves right now with, in Walmart.
Right.
So, it's a retro reissue of the Hiss tank that they did last year. Instead of black, it's blue.
Right.
That's it.
They had a red version at one point too, didn't they?
They had there was a, Sears version way back in the day, but then they reissued it with the KB Toys as a red version,
Right, I remember the red version. I didn't have it, I just
maybe
remember seeing it.
2001, I
I
think.
had
I
the
have a
original
couple of
black.
those.
I had the
Yeah.
original black version, that was mine.
Yep, no,
I had
and
all
I
that
would
stuff.
always customize them with the numbers with different area codes of places I lived.
Nice! I didn't know
So,
that.
I had, like,
That's pretty
318
awesome.
from Louisiana, I had 508 from Massachusetts on one, I think.
Yeah, because you were up
Maybe I'm
in
wrong
Lynn,
on that.
right?
Huh?
You were up in Lynn, right? So that was
Yeah,
I believe that's 508 if I'm not mistaken, it still is.
yeah. Or no, and I had to customize them with numbers that were on the one label, like 813 or something, so I had to
Right.
cut them and change them around a little bit, so yeah.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra work. You're gonna cut and
It was
splice. You're
worth
not
it.
just Oh, definitely. It
Had
always is. But that's part of the fandom. Like that's it. Like the passion
Exactly,
for it. It doesn't you can't say, well, that's not worth doing. It is worth doing. It's part of your passion. We had a
exactly.
passion for He-Man. We had a passion for that show. And I understand when people get like buggy, but it still gets frustrating. You know what I mean? People get like, I have a passion for the show. It's okay. This is a new
Right.
version. You like it or you don't, but you don't have to lose your flipping mind. Like, you know
You
what I
know
mean?
what?
Like, why is this hurting you so bad?
You can still get the great toys and have your own stories with them,
Yeah.
and the toys are great for this new series. They're
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
They are
Um,
nice. They are really
I
nice.
$30 a point, though, for a couple figures are a little tough to swallow because there's a faker
Mm.
that's out there right now. Looks really great, but $30?
I know.
20s?
I have the same problem with the pop figures, and there's
Yeah.
no articulation of those things. They're just little,
Their
little
heads move a little
statues.
bit. Their
Some
heads
of them.
either bounce
Most
around
of
or
them
they're
don't. Most of them don't. Like the Star Wars ones, pretty much all are bobblehead, and
well, you
some
know
of the
why?
Marvel ones, because Disney wanted that way, didn't they? They're
It's
really
because
particular. They
it's
all have
Hasbro.
bases too.
Hasbro doesn't want another action figure to compete with their main lines in the most part, unless it's
I
something
like
they
the fact that they
sanction.
think a static figure that has no articulation is as an action figure.
I
It's
know.
not.
The
It's
it's
not an action figure because there's no action in it.
the head
It
turning is what
barely
gets it.
barely, but,
But
like,
you know what?
wobbling is more than turning.
But now they've got Super 7 doing ultimate versions of G.I. Joe characters, and they're doing, 5-point articulation figures for G.I. Joe. So, okay. Like, what the heck?
I loved my originals. I
Yeah,
loved my originals.
and they're still doing the 6-inch line too, the,
That
G.I.
that
Joe
comic
Classified.
book store has a quick kick, not on card, but it has the card. It's
Yep,
not still mounted. It's obviously been removed and the plastic's gone, but the
yep.
full card is still there. Like, I look at it
Ooh.
every time, like, "Oh, I've been so close a couple of times." I'm like,
You know what you
"What am I
do?
gonna do with it?"
That's when you tell your wife, "Christmas. Christmas is
Yeah.
coming."
But my fear is, like, what am I gonna do? Like, we're still in the apartment, we haven't moved into a house yet. When we do, I'll have my man cave, in which case I will then set up a podcasting,
Yep,
studio for it down in the basement with my man cave stuff, and then I'll have all my pop figures. Right now, 90% of my pop figures went into storage, like, they're in a bin, a big
right.
bin, 2 of them now, you know what I mean? And I put in there until
Mm,
I have my favorites out in the
yep.
apartment on display, and I'll change them out occasionally. I'll go to storage, replace, put some away, take some other ones out, you know. But what am I gonna do with anything more? I have a few comic books, some of the new Batman 89 and the
Yep.
Superman 78. I have That's pretty much all I've done because like it's just no space for it all. Unless I
I
get
know the
another
feeling.
storage unit.
Trust
I
me,
I know
I
you know
know.
how I feel. I've seen, you know what I mean? I've seen some pictures. I know you know how I feel.
And I still have to do I still do a photo studio when I, take pictures of things before I open them or sell them or anything like that. Because that's my one weird thing is everything I buy, every toy I buy, I take a photo, front, back, left, right, top, bottom, before I even
Mhm.
open it. Because if I
Yeah.
wanna do a review, I have a photo of it,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
of the pack. I want my
Have you
photo,
done the
not
quick
something that's
video on the
full.
spinning? Have you done a carousel?
Sometimes, depending on the toy or whatnot, if
Yeah,
it'll
some of
fit
them
on
you
there.
can't do. Right.
Yeah, because I have little tiny ones. I don't have a big spinner. I just have a little tiny one.
Oh, gotcha, okay. I have one slightly larger than that. I
It
think I
works
just did
well
it
for
on
pops.
origami. Yeah, that definitely works well for pops. I did it, like, for my 3D origami when I did that. I had a spinner for that and just it worked well to display in the
Yep.
little video, so, yeah, definitely. So, alright, so back to Masters of the Universe, the new show, Revelation, looking forward to it, November, I wanna say it's the 22nd, I could be wrong, it's definitely around that particular time. I
Yep.
know I posted about it, actually, so I really should know because I put it on our Instagram, recently, actually. Let's see, I can actually give you a real date on that because it's no, 23rd, you were right. November 23rd, Masters of the Universe Revelation on, Netflix.
Yep.
So go
All
watch
5
that
episodes will
in
drop.
5
Can't wait to
episodes,
watch them.
right? Because we had what, 8 in the first
It
series?
was 5 for the
Right.
first half, 5
Was
for
it
the
5?
back half,
Oh, that seems
and
like
if it
short.
does
That
well
seems
enough,
short.
Kevin's
Seems like it
yeah.
was longer.
No, it was only 5. You could watch it in an
Wow.
afternoon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 5. That's amazing. It seemed longer. It seemed longer. I don't know. I just to me, maybe it's just because there's so much packed into that 5.
Yep,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? It just seemed, you know what I mean, between him leaving and coming back, and you know what I mean, then going away again.
Yeah,
It seemed like it was
and I
longer.
can't wait to see what Triclops does just because, he's gone all Borg on everybody.
Yep. Yep. He
It's
did.
like,
I thought
"I
that was
will make
awesome.
everybody my like, technologically perfect." No, 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 stop, you become the Borg.
Yeah, he did. He really did. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be great. We have to talk. We'll have to speaking of Borg. We'll have to talk about Picard at some point.
Oh, yes,
We'll have to
yes,
do
I
a
cannot
Picard
wait for
episode.
season 2.
Me too. Me too.
Oh,
Q coming
dude, I
in.
can't wait.
I cannot wait. Q
Yeah,
coming
it's all
in.
about
It's
Q.
gonna be. It's gonna be amazing. All right, Mike. Fantastic. So let's tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs and all that.
Alright, they can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at The Bro Show. That's at TheBreaux, as an X-ray, SHOW. Feel free to drop a line anytime, and, my big thing is hashtag Just Bro It. Do a good deed a day, put a hashtag Just Bro It, and tell me your good deed each day so I can talk about it myself sometime.
Yeah.
I just like to hear, holding a door open for someone, saying hi to someone looks like they're having a tough day. Heck, buying a cup of coffee for the guy behind you, unless it's Starbucks and it's way too much. I understand. Save your
Who has
money.
that kind of money? Yeah, who has that kind of money? I do that
Yeah,
at Dunks all the time. Don't tell my wife.
yeah,
I do that
exactly.
once in a while. Like when there's like a drive-through Dunks,
Yeah,
and you're trying to take the left in, and somebody else takes the right, but they let you go ahead of them, and
yeah,
they know you're gonna jump in the line before them because you're gonna go through the drive-through. Yeah, I
yeah,
look at their order. If it's like if it's under $10, whatever,
yeah,
I'll throw it on my card
yeah,
and
exactly.
just wave at them. You know what I mean? I do it for police all the time. I don't care
Oh,
what. Like
that's
when
that's exactly what I was gonna do, like,
the
police,
cop behind
firefighters,
me or
anybody I
whatever.
see in there,
Yeah,
like, I got you.
rescue, any rescue workers, anybody. I just do it right away.
Yeah,
But yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah, and it's funny. I think one time, I swear, I might be mistaken. There was like a black. I want to say it was a Honda CRV, kind of like the one I have now, but yeah, I didn't have a black one at the time, and I bought the woman's. And I think it was either the next day or the day after.
right.
She bought it for me. I think she recognized me
Oh, wow.
because she was in front of me. It's really
Okay.
she was like, "I recognize that car," and they're like, "No, it's all set." I'm like, "I think that was the lady that I bought for the other day," and she just did so it just came back full circle, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's amazing how well that works.
It's amazing
Awesome.
how karma works,
Yeah,
man.
I know. Excellent. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening today. If you like today's show, please drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd really appreciate it, and we'd love to read your review on the show, hopefully soon. So find us online at entertainmentrants.com. Drop us a line at engage@entertainmentrants.com. If there's a particular subject you want us to rant about, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show to rant about something you're passionate about, something in the world of entertainment, movies, TV, music, comic books, geek culture, anything you'd like to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. So find us on our Instagram at Entertainment Rants. Same with Facebook, and on Twitter we're Entertain Rants. Although I'll be honest, we don't do a lot on our Twitter. I don't know about you, Mike. We do a lot. Instagram is still our
A little
biggest one
bit.
that we deal with. Facebook a little bit, but Instagram we really heavily lean into Instagram because we love the
Oh,
image
yeah.
work. So that heavily into that. So all
I
right,
will like
everybody.
to say, check out the Instagram for Entertainment Rants because I love the quotes they put up every day, just about.
Yes.
Like, they
So we've done that. We have 3 things that we do every day. I do a this day in history, which I know you
Yep,
do. I
yep,
do a pop a day because I love
yep.
pop figures, and hopefully I don't run out. And then I'll have to figure out what happens if I run out. And then of course we do our quote a day. Quote a day has become one of my favorites.
It's
I
a
like
fun
the
thing to do.
quote.
I was doing that
I
for a
mean that's
long
almost
time.
endless, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can always find something.
There's always some
Always.
good quote that's from a movie or TV show or whatever, something famous that you remember. And I've been doing that same thing on my page for our karate studio too. We try to do
Nice.
not every single day, but every like once or twice a week we throw up a quote too.
Yep.
So that's a lot of fun. Awesome. All right, Mike. Thank you so much. We're gonna get take off for a little while, and then Mike and I will be back later. We're gonna talk about what do we say we're gonna talk about for the next show? Oh,
I think we're talking about.
conventions.
Yeah,
Yeah, going to
exactly.
conventions, what conventions are like, what it's like going to be conventions, the proper, there's some, what you should expect at conventions, how people should really behave at a convention, really
Yes.
is something like that's a huge thing. Talking to celebrities, meeting celebrities, things like that. So we're going to talk about that. Look for that podcast coming up as well soon. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Continue to go out there and keep ranting, everybody.
Rock on.